Hi guys, hello and welcome to the THQ podcast. So in this episode I'm going to be interviewing Barney. Now Barney is a THQ Whaley member. He's been a member since March. He's completed the 6-week programme, completed the 12-week shoot, which is what we're going to go into depth to talk about now. And he's used the strength room regular, which is very important. And it's just about to start tonight, Armageddon. Now, what I think is very good about this interview is Barney is what I go on about all the time, is you exhaust all the avenues of THQ. You don't just become a member and expect the results to come to you. There's a reason why we have the 6-week program, the 12-week program, we have the strength room, and we have the programs, and we want you to use it as much as you can so you get the full benefit. So, Barney, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you. What's your job role? What's your lifestyle?
Okay. I'm a father, 2 children, husband, obviously. She's also a member of THQ, as is my daughter. I'm a nurse by background. I don't really do much nursing anymore, but I'm an operations director for a private company, so a lot of time on the road, a lot of time in hotels. Cyclist, climber, mountaineer, all of those things, outdoor lifestyle.
Yeah, so that's because obviously we was having a conversation just before the interview about sort of, and you made a very good point. Is obviously you've always been very active. You've cycled, you've climbed, but something happened. It's something you reached a point where, like, that sort of your activities that you grew up with and you've been doing for the last 20 years just wasn't really sort of like serving you anymore, especially for your body shape goals. So tell me sort of what was the moment you think, right, I need to change it, and why do you not feel that they was like sort of serving you as much as what they had done when you were younger?
I think as you get older, so I'm 50 this year, obviously all your metabolism slows down and everything like that. But I think what happened was family. I started working more stressful jobs, really hard work. And I think the bad habits really start to creep in. And when you're doing a hobby like climbing or cycling, you're fitting it in at the weekends. You're getting older, as a result, and so everything's just slowing down. On top of that, I started, getting some really bad habits around my eating, not eating breakfast, straight out on the road, lunch, missed it, get home, eat my tea, and then just go all the way through eating. And at the back of my mind, there was always, it's all right. I'm going to cycle myself fit, or I'll climb myself fit, or something like that. And then I think, you hit 40s and my weight comes up a bit more. And then I think the real thing was I had my gallbladder out. And some of that I think is down to bad habits from eating. And I was in constant pain for 2 or 3 years. Didn't do anything. Weight absolutely spiraled. Hit an all-time high of about 19 and a bit stone. Just huge. And as a nurse, I'm in a stressful job. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have diabetes. And there was a sudden realization is I'm not going to climb myself fit anymore. I'm not going to cycle. Well, I'm not climbing anymore. I'm not going to cycle myself fit. It's not going to happen. So I need to make a significant change. And it was my wife who made me come to THQ.
and I think it's more when you're more aware of the bad habits, what they are doing to your health as well. It does make you more conscious, and I think it's a massive driver for a lot of people, especially the people over 30, over 40, to join THQ. They do have that, and they think, like, I need to really start paying attention to my health. And I would definitely say don't leave it till it's too late. You need to make. But that's interesting. That's very interesting. And it's something that obviously you need to do. So what was it about THQ that you found the sort of give you that discipline you was needing back again?
I think everyone tries gyms, don't they? But the reality is you don't know what you're doing when you get there. You think you're lifting a few weights. Thank you very much. You go home and you ate. And it was my wife who I think she'd signed up, so she was getting the little emails, podcasts, and that. So I started reading them, and we made the decision. Let's go. I must admit, I walked in the door, the music's pumping, people are training. I thought, this is not for me. I'm back out the door. And I can remember she said, no, you're here, you're going to do it. And then you start. And then what I found was the routine of the 3 sessions was a goldmine for me. It was an absolute goldmine because there was the structure. I didn't have to think. I've been at work all day. Just turn up to start with, do the session, go. As long as I was getting in that door, hit my 3 sessions, that was psychologically a massive, massive step for me. And I've got to say, the trainers, you know what I mean? There was no elitism, maybe, which you get in some gyms. People of all ages, all sorts of shapes and sizes. And that was just, you know, it just calmed me down completely, you know what I mean? And all the other members, everyone has their own story. But it was the routine.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got that into my head, lots of excuses to start with, I'm too tired and that, but just kept going. And then it develops.
Because that fear that you spoke about then is walking in. You said, I mean, I think we spoke about it as well before the podcast. That fear of like being overweight and being out of shape, and then coming into that, like, it's 100% like the perception what you think a gym is going to be like is always 100% different anyway.
It is, yeah.
But like, how did that, like, how long did that last for? Like, just as soon as you had, when you come in, did it sort of just go, or when you start to come around?
I'm a pretty much an all-in person. So once I've committed, I'm on it. I'm doing it. And you do your first session, and it's a bit bewildering because you don't really know what you're doing, and you're being eased into it, aren't you? And that's good. And then you come, and I think it was probably second weekend. It felt relaxed. You see a few familiar faces. The trainers really put you at ease. You know what I mean? At that time, they're getting to know you and everything else. And then that was it. I was enjoying it. I felt so much better actually after a session. You know what I mean? It was just fantastic. So yeah, that was it. And then it clicked, and then it became the next thing. You know what I mean? Then I started to get my eating right, and then one stage at a time.
What's the hardest thing you found about like your results, getting your results in?
I think it was a big milestone for me to start eating proper meals regularly. That was a huge thing. So now, you know, and at the start, breakfast used to make me feel sick. Just did it, built it up. Didn't so much worry what I was eating to start with. Just get the breakfast down, and that. Now it's the best meal of the day for me. I absolutely love it.
I just want to, because that is a very, very good point, and that's what I always say to people is you've hit the nail on the head. Is I always say try and get your 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
People always say I can't eat breakfast, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And you've gone through it, and you get to the point now breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and that is because obviously you're fitter, you're healthier, and when you weight training, your body you turns over nutrients more, so we use nutrients as energy. And I always say people just wait until you need it. Like eventually you will need to eat. Like people say, I can't stomach breakfast. That's because your bad habits that you're having all the time. It's not breakfast, it's you. But once your body starts to turn it over, you'll wake up hungry and you'll need it. Yeah. So that was a really good point, and I wanted to put you.
No, and it was absolutely key. And in my head, I kind of went, get your meals in a day. Last meal, no later than 7 o'clock. And that's what I did. And then I just got into that real regular pattern. And the weight started to creep off. And then it dramatically started to come off faster than anything. To the point I did get a bit obsessed with the scales. Till one of the trainers, I think it was Will, said, dump them. Just look at the mirror, look at the results, look how it's changing. And that was another big thing. Leave this. I don't think I weigh myself. I weigh myself probably once a fortnight now, if that, just to see where I am. But it's that looking at where you're at, your body. I think one of the toughest bits was once you went on to the shoot, and by which point I was starting to eat quite clean, but then I went into the shoot and that totally clean, you know. And I'm a big believer, you just hit the numbers. You tell me what to do, I hit the numbers, it will all come. And I can just remember sitting there trying to get all this food in, and it was just, and I was struggling and almost overwhelming. Same with the water, you know what I mean? Like 4 litres of water and everything else. And then, you know, I think it was a conversation with Ryan. He says, well, you can have 4 meals a day if you want. You can have 5 meals. I don't really care as long as you hit your numbers, hit your calories, hit your macros. That's what I did. And then it became easy. To the point that even when we did all the calorie reductions at the end, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. And I think, you know, you don't have to be at home to do it. You don't have to have your food prep. I think the last week I was on the road. It was a nightmare. I'd be in hotels with work, and you're thinking, I really just need to eat an egg white omelette. And I asked, and I got, you know what I mean? You know, and So yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah.
So you kind of can do it wherever you are.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
people always say, "Oh, everything comes with chips." Like, it doesn't really come with chips. There's an option.
Yeah,
You've got
yeah,
a choice.
yeah.
We're all adults.
Yeah.
You've got a choice. Like, to have.
And some places, you'll get the meal, and you'll be looking at the menu, and you're going, "All right." And I'd say to the waiter, "Can I have chicken off that dish, and can you put me some broccoli?"
Eat
Yeah,
off
no problem.
So working away,
Yeah.
how did you find working away? Tell me about that.
It's tough to start with, and you're thinking about your meal prep and everything else. And sometimes, I didn't get my meals prepped in time. You use the WhatsApp. It's really, the app, MyFitnessPal. And you get into a routine, and so if you're on the motorway, I know if there's a Waitrose at the motorway, I can sit there, get what I need, job done. So it was never stressful. That was never stressful. Going to the gyms, by the time, I was on the shoot, going to new gyms, I knew enough to get a really good workout, and that was super key. But then sometimes you'd rock up at a gym and it'd just be all cardio. And I can remember one of them, I think the weights only went, 10 kilo? And you just, you just went for it, you just did it. And at least, the session might have been longer to get a bit more of the, the reps and the burn and everything else. But I think for me, the message is it doesn't matter what you do. Bit of discipline, you can do it. It's not easy. And we talk about good habits, but for me, it's a bit more than that. It becomes a lifestyle change, and that's what it has become. It's become a complete lifestyle change for me. How I eat, when I eat, what I eat. I'm making sure I'm getting the training sessions in. And a bit more knowledge. We were talking before about some different exercises, but you start to know your body more. I know that actually probably doing the 5th session at the moment, if I'm doing a big mountain bike ride at the weekend, isn't the best way to go about it. But if I'm not riding, make sure I'm not getting the 5th session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've gone all into the process, and I think that's the number one reason.
Absolutely.
You've used every single avenue that we offer.
Yeah.
And obviously the reason why we put them into place in the first place, so that you can actually go through the whole system, get the results. Now, I think why it's you obviously walked into the gym. You said you was very nervous about walking into the gym. The psychological aspect of walking into the gym, overweight. I think how you overcome that, because I've been overweight myself, I've not always been super fit. I think how you overcome that is actually by just doing the work. So when you come into the gym, it's fair at the start, but if you stick to the plan, you do it, that soon disappears. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, 100%. And like I said, I kind of have this way of shutting off, and it almost becomes tunnel vision, and that's what I had to do. And then the fear lifts. And like I say, if you hit your numbers and you do the work, do what people are telling you, go all in. It's not as scary as you think. It all comes in time. You know what I mean? And then soon, it's a lifestyle change, and that's when you see the results. Not just physically. I mean, mentally, I've got more energy. I'm alert. I'm 4 3/4 stone lighter now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's all.
So tell me exactly how much weight have you lost? How much inches have you lost?
Well, I was 19 stone when I walked in March. End of the shoot, I was 14 1/4, so it's 4 3/4 stone. Probably, I was around a 47, 48 chest. Yeah, it's actually 43. Actually, I measured it this morning. Waist-wise, 43 and expanding at least, depending where you go for your clothes. Down to a 34 now. You know what I mean, mate? So.
Wow. That's amazing. How much different do you feel like at work? Like say you've got a very stressful job.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that we forget that how food affects everything that we do, like something that what we're putting into our body. So how has it sort of changed how you think? And
I'm less stressed, which is really interesting. Things don't bother me. Anxieties, just write down, just kind of calm. I'm just on it more. You know what I mean? I think I'm more efficient, I'm more productive as a result, which is good for my boss, but just on it. And I go everywhere with a pack of chicken in my bag, just in case. It's just the way it is. But that's why I'm saying lifestyle change. It is It's just not the physical, it's the energy, the mentality, and the mentality to how you're living, your life. I go to a lot of places where you have these great big buffet lunches. I'm prepared for that now, you know what I mean? I'll have my box, I'll hit their salad, I'll nick the bits off.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and I feel like you've got a massive understanding. Obviously, we break everything down into a 6-week program, a 12-week program, the 8-week program, but we're all about mastering the long game. And I think that is definitely something that once you master the long game and you understand it is the long game, it is a long journey, and you have to change the habits. And a key is talk a little bit. How have you found the stuff that you've met? You obviously climbing is probably more enjoyable. Obviously, burn a lot of calories as well. But biking will be something that will be seen as a fat loss method. And it definitely would work as a fat loss method. But obviously, how we do it is more about the long game, but getting people stronger over a period of time. And I like to see it as that as your transformation progresses, the more food you can actually eat, and it actually progresses, and that makes it more long term. So, how have you found weight training compared to rather than doing biking and things like that? I know you still do biking for enjoyment, which is great. I bike for enjoyment. But for a fat loss perspective, how have you found trying to build a strong body compared to just trying to burn off a few calories?
The two almost go hand in hand. I think the weight training has improved my strengths, my core, everything else so much that the other ones become more enjoyable again. And there's a realization that you're never gonna. You get to a certain point that you're not just going to ride yourself fit or climb yourself fit by going out in the hills once a week. So it's that regular training, your minimum of 3 sessions, your minimum of that. And I am I'm stronger. There's no two ways about it. My core is stronger. I do a lot of mountain biking as well as road cycling. I throw the bike around now. My center of gravity is better. And you hear all the stuff, gosh, I'm a nurse, the NHS, 3.5 hours of exercise, and all that. But they've actually changed it, especially for people my age now, where they're actually saying your 3.5 hours of weight training is the way forward, If you're honest, I was really worried that, because I'm quite broad, that the weight training would send me a different way. I'd get even bigger, and that's what I didn't want to do. I wanted to get leaner. I wouldn't have believed it on those first 2 weeks, even though you see the posters and the pictures and everything. And then it does it, and you just think, well, the proof's in the pudding. You know what I mean? The proof's in the pudding is, it's almost like, you need to believe the hype. Go and do it yourself and get it done. So and my riding's more enjoyable. I don't climb as much anymore, but I'm sure it would be completely different.
More enjoyable, and that's the key. Something you've done for so many years, you want to continue to do it as long as you possibly can. And definitely weight training, I think obviously it helps to get you leaner, which is ideal. But if you do any sports on the side as well, things like that, brings that enjoyment back to it, because the stronger you are, the more you enjoy it. Go.
Even a simple thing like I actually started scuba diving 2-3 years ago, just because low impact, didn't need to do anything, float in the water, that sort of thing. But I noticed even just trying to get a good posture in the water, I was struggling with when my back would go. And when you try to get your buoyancy, now I'm just like arrow flat in the water. I'm not angled, everything, and that's down to this process because I can just hold my core without thinking. So everything becomes easier.
100%. It's life changing as well. So what I was, we will obviously look at your posture, we'll look at your form, and you're going to go through the sessions, and you're going to have to be aware of things that you can't actually do very well. So when we do pick up on things, and we ask you to maybe go in the strength room, work on these exercises at home, you have to be willing to do that as well, which you are, which is obviously showing why you've got such good results as well, which I'm sure when we have this conversation in 6 months' time again, your posture is going to be completely changed because you've got that attitude, and that's sort of, how do you feel about asking for how's your form when you're in the sessions and things like that?
I think it's really important. I think at the start you don't know what you're doing, so you're kind of reliant. But I think the more you get into it, the more you absorb yourself into it. You get to understand when something don't feel right, or you're not getting it right, or something. So what I would say, well, one, I think your confidence comes, that's the first bit, but then what I would say is ask the question, because you learn. I think the most progression I've got is when I've been told my form is wrong and we've adapted it, or I've known it's wrong and I've asked that question about, am I getting this right? Or, for example, RDLs, well, how come I can't go all the way down there? Well, we know because my hamstrings are, are tight. So it's having that confidence. Definitely, I think, Carl, you've got to have some accountability for yourself in it. You can't just sit here and the trainers are going to sort you out and everything. You do what you're told, within reason, but you've got to have the motivation, the accountability to own it and just get it done. And that's massive.
100%. You've got to take ownership and do it. And we will help you till blue in the face. But if you're not helping yourself, it's never going to happen. And you've certainly done the opposite. Like you've helped yourself massively. And from the point where you had the fear of coming in to absolutely taking ownership and just absolutely smashing it, which is brilliant. And we mentioned before that you had a little bit of a niggle when you started the shoot on your shoulder. And I think that if you'd have been going half-heartedly into the program, so let's say you did the 6 weeks, you did all right, but then I'll jump on the shoot because everyone else has done the shoot and I'm sort of going through it. If you'd have got a little niggle in your shoulder, that would have completely changed your mind. Oh, I've not been able to do the shoot because of my shoulder. Whereas, you was just, how was your mindset when you got a little niggle? Like
the first thing was, I was like, I've just done my shoulder, and then suddenly realised I couldn't do anywhere. I couldn't even do half the weight I was doing on the bench presses. So in my head, I thought I'm going backwards. But it was then the confidence to go, this doesn't feel right, I'm going backwards. One, I couldn't do the exercise. And then one of the trainers just said, doesn't matter, we're going to do these now. It really doesn't matter, it'll come back. Obviously, had it seen by the physio, fine, they said you can still train. But the point was you can still keep training. We're just going to adjust the exercises. And I think that's really important because sometimes you do hear about people just progressing with an injury. They don't speak out. I think you have to speak out before you do some serious damage.
I understand why the injuries actually happened. Like, are you looking at your form? Are you doing that? And you're asking questions about your form.
Exactly. No such thing as a silly question in my book.
100%.
Ask the questions. Plenty of people there to give you the knowledge, you know what I mean, and tell you and everything else. And and once I got that through, well, I can still train. There's some different exercises here. Wasn't a problem, and you just kept going.
And went on and got an amazing shoot result. So
really pleased with it.
Now really good position, ready to push forward for Armageddon.
Looking forward to that, and looking forward to this next year. See what I can do then.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Podcast,
no, absolutely.
Cheers.
Thank you.